This is White Plains Week, the weekly roundup of White Plains, Westchester, and world news. With John Bailey, editor and publisher of the daily internet newspaper White Plains Citizen Net Reporter, WPCNR.com. Jim Benneroff, editor and publisher of SuburbanStreet.com and WhitePlains.com. White Plains Week, what's happening, who are the newsmakers, what's in store for the future. The views and opinions expressed on this program are solely those of the participants. White Plains Week is presented on Optimum Cable Channel 76, Verizon Fios Channel 45, and on the internet at whiteplainsweek.com, youtube.com, and wpcommunitymedia.org. Now, White Plains Week.
Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. and Ms. White Plains, New York, USA, and the world, where the news just keeps on coming on the White Plains Week video newsreel of August 20th, 2021. Where this week, construction took up where it left off on the Madison, shown here, those elevators going up and down. The New York State Department of Education left it up to the school superintendents in White Plains and across the state to decide how they would reopen the schools. No state approval required. You're on your own, fellas and gals. Hudson Valley employment climbed in July, up 7.8% in 1 year, ending July. Orange, Rockland, and Westchester was up 12.3%. Health and Human Services is flying immigrants into Westchester County. Nobody knew that. Airport, into Westchester County Airport. That's right, under cover of night for resettlement in the tri-state area. The county was not told. No reaction. Well, will Afghan refugees be next to arrive? Just asking. 8 months after vaccines arrive, 166,000 hospital and long-term care workers are still not vaccinated. If not vaxxed by September 7, they will have to be tested weekly. New COVID infections continue to spread at a pace of 200 a day. However, the new cases are spreading the disease to only 2 persons for every new person catching COVID. The daily infection rate spread is directly proportional to new COVID infections 2 weeks ago. In 2 weeks, the Westchester average spread was well below the expected rate of 1 person infecting 7 after 45 days of the third wave of COVID here in Westchester County. Now let's hear Deputy County Executive Ken Jenkins on the relentless COVID infections that continue afflicting Westchester County on Monday.
Moving down to our COVID updates, per the New York State Vaccine Tracker from 8/15, there are 609,520 people with completed vaccine series in Westchester County, 671,000 people with at least 1 vaccine dose. So we have 81.8% of our population 18 years or older with at least 1 vaccine dose. 69%, we're going to hit 70% this week, hopefully, with a population that has complete dosage for either the Pfizer, Moderna with 2 shots or Johnson & Johnson with 1 vaccine shot that's necessary. The testing that we have going on right now, and as we continue to watch the Delta variant, things continue to creep up as far as testing is concerned, the testing number and positivity tests because of the Delta variant is concerned. From the 12th on the county-wide tracker, active cases, 2,398 cases, and confirmed new cases as of August 12th, 229. And again, we want to make sure that everyone recognizes we're just not in the same scenario that we were in 2020 at this point of view, where we didn't have vaccinations available for individuals and we did not have anything on the horizon, but we had many more people that were testing positive on a daily basis. Certainly we had more people in the hospital, but again, the vaccines are working. There are very, very few deaths, and as the county executive always points out, and would always want to continue to point out, that every death is a loss of a family member, a friend, etc., that we want to make sure to recognize all of that. But we are in extremely, extremely good shape as far as that's concerned. Again, it's very concerning that the numbers in testing positive continue to increase, and 95% of those individuals that have tested positive for coronavirus are unvaccinated. So we do have a series of things that we can do. However, we want to make sure to let people know that they have to continue to do things, mask up indoors as we are doing here, except while we're speaking, and we've got to continue to make sure to keep people as safe as possible.
Mr. Jenkins then introduced Joan McDonald, Westchester County Director of Operations, who introduced a new vaccination program to help parents get required vaccinations in time for the start of school. School superintendents need to call 995-5800 to enroll their districts in the program and get it started, so you can help parents who have perhaps delayed getting vaccinations, particularly for their first, if the children are first starting school. So she also dispelled some misconceptions on booster shots. Here's Ms. McDonald.
I'm going to spend a few minutes talking a little bit about what we're doing with schools, immunization clinics for students, not just with their COVID immunizations, but with their regular immunizations, and then a little bit on the booster shot that CDC in New York State have been coming out with the guidance over the weekend and today. First of all, we are in active dialogue with our school districts. We continue to talk with them on a regular basis. And we know that the issues of both vaccines and mandatory masking is top of mind for parents. We are ready and able to set up a vaccine satellite at any school district in the county. Please give us a call and we will work this through with you. We are working with our local school districts and helping them establish the procedures necessary to reopen schools in a month. In addition, we have the free back-to-school vaccine clinics for all of the immunizations that students have to have when they go back to school. The Westchester County Department of Health will now book appointments for free back-to-school vaccine clinics in Yonkers on Mondays and Thursdays from now through the end of August, and on Friday in White Plains from this week through the end of August for children to have the vaccines that they need for school. All children who do not have their required immunization must have their first dose within 14 days from their first day of school. The county health department can help families without insurance. Child Health Plus or Medicaid should call the county health department to schedule an appointment for those vaccines at no charge to the families. You should call 914-995-5800 to find out if you qualify and to make an appointment for those back-to-school clinics. At the County Health Department, 20 South Broadway, second floor in Yonkers. The hours are Mondays now through August 30th from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. and Thursdays beginning this week through August 26th from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. At the County Health Department clinic at 134 Court Street in White Plains, now through August 27th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. There currently is no recommendation for a booster vaccination dose, and we are awaiting those. There are no recommendations for an additional dose for persons who received the J&J vaccine. Immunocompromised individuals should consult with their regular physician regarding their need for an additional COVID-19 booster. And such immunocompromised persons should always continue to wear a mask, stay 6 feet apart from others that they don't live with, Avoid crowds in poorly ventilated indoor spaces unless otherwise advised by their healthcare providers. Close contacts of immunocompromised persons should also be vaccinated. Commercial COVID antibody testing is not authorized or recommended to determine immunity or the need for additional vaccine doses following COVID-19 vaccinations. As more information becomes available from CDC and the FDA on these booster shots, we will continue to provide you that information.
And here are those vaccinations needed as provided by the New York State Department of Health. And we'll leave that up there for a few minutes. And there are school opens in White Plains on September the 9th. So parents need to get their children vaccinated for these required inoculations. If your child is already in school and they may have a record of it and you may not need to repeat them, I suggest you contact your child's school to see if your previous vaccinations for those required shots are in order. Now, you may have heard on the Ken Jenkins video that County Executive George Latimer was out of the county Monday. Mr. Latimer returned Tuesday in his regular Tuesday morning appearance on WVOX Radio's Dennis and Tani Good Morning Westchester program, and County Executive George Latimer shared what federal officials told him and about their supervising the immigrant flights into Westchester, which started last Thursday and Friday, August 12th and 13th, to the surprise of everyone. Latimer said federal officials told him flights would continue. He had no power to stop the flights because the federal government has superior authority. He repeated he did not know of the immigrant resettlement flights as of last Wednesday. After immigrants got off the planes, Latimer said on the air, the youths who were unaccompanied were put on buses to go to foster families or homes in New York City, Westchester, New Jersey, Connecticut, and upstate. Latimer was informed the youths were from camps at the U.S. southern border and was told by federal officials the youths were vaccinated. He said the flights would continue. He said the federal officials would not tell him where the immigrant youth would be housed or specifically where they are now. He said they would not say how many more flights would be coming in or when they were coming in. Speaking of coming in, White Plains Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Joseph Ricca, and the School Reopening Committee, teachers and staff are preparing for reopening the schools, and he will address the city on the school's Facebook page August 27th and hold a question and answer session via Facebook on September 1. But one thing he and all superintendents around the state now know, no one in government, state, county, or local municipality has to approve their plans. When the Commissioner of New York Health, Dr. Howard Zucker, announced 2 weeks ago that schools had all the responsibility for determining how they would open their schools, Dr. Rosa issued a memo announcing the Department of Education would advise the schools across the state of safe practices and recommendations for opening full school instruction without remote learning. That guide came out August 12th. It is 21 pages long. It makes lots of recommendations, but does not say particularly that schools have to follow them. I checked with the Media Relations Department with the State Education Department and asked whether the SED required each school district to approve each school reopening plan. Yesterday, the department said, and I quote, "For school districts, opening plans are subject to the approval of the superintendent of schools, as was the case in the 2020-21 school year and 2021-22. Opening plans will not be subject to approval by the New York State Education Department." So school superintendents, the governor, the State Education Commissioner, the Health Department, and State Senate and Assembly, the county, cities, and towns in Westchester are leaving it all up to you. Parents should err on the side of safety for their children and not what they would like to have. That's one man's opinion. In fact, the biggest question in my mind is, will schools require every child who is eligible to be vaccinated? That is an anxiety-producing decision for the school districts. I'll tell you why. New COVID infections since last Friday have steadily risen over 200 to 234 on Tuesday, August 17th, and on Wednesday, August 18th, to 243. WPCNR has calculated the rate of spread based on new infections to be ridiculously low compared to the Johns Hopkins one person infects 7 others metric. In the 45 days since the COVID third wave began, the Westchester spread average, as calculated by moi, is an average 2.2 persons infecting 2 people. 2 weeks ago, on August the 4th, 183 tested positive for COVID. Divide 183 into the 243 infections Wednesday, you come up with 1 person infecting 3 persons. And that equals 238, almost 243 persons. So we have a much lower spread rate, which is easy to figure out by dividing the number of new infections on a particular day by the number of infections 2 weeks prior. This is really good performance. This 1 person infects 2. It is astounding to me. Authorities do not publish this very important stat instead of putting out guesswork. Where are the Westchester cases? The cities, of course, lead. It is no surprise. Yonkers has the most active cases, 631. New Rochelle, 246. Mount Vernon, 262. And White Plains, 144. But the suburbs up north and on the swank eastern shore and in Mount Pleasant with 96 are relaxing too much. Greenburgh, next door, has 130. Yorktown has 121 cases. Cortland, 91. The Rise, 90. Harrison, 70. Scarsdale, 59. The Terrytowns, 58. Eastchester, 53. Peekskill, 53. And Portchester, 47. Now, Tom Abenanti, the assemblyman, sent out this press release that astounded me this week. All healthcare workers in New York State, including staff at hospitals and long-term care facilities, LTCFs, nursing homes, adult care, and other congregate care settings will be required to be vaccinated against COVID-19 by Monday, September 27th. The State Department of Health will issue orders requiring all such facilities to develop and implement a policy mandating employee vaccinations with limited exceptions for those with religious or medical reasons. State employees who choose to remain unvaccinated will be required to undergo weekly COVID testing. To date, and this is shocking to me, 75% of the state's 450,000 hospital workers, 74% of the state's 30,000 adult care facility workers, and 68% of the state's 145,500 nursing home workers have been fully vaccinated. That leaves 166,700 unvaccinated. How can this be? I thought, didn't you, that hospitals were supposed to vaccinate all their workers first before we even got shots? They took 5 weeks to do it. Didn't you? But no, they did not, according to this announcement by the New York State Department of Health. And I tell you, the nursing homes, after whining that the state forced them to accept COVID patients back into their homes, they did not vaccinate 32% of their workers, according to the State Department of Health. What is going on here? We've had the vaccines for 8 months. Now persons that really need it will be forced to wait for the 166,000 who have not gotten the vax at these facilities. Please, another management failure on the part of long-term facilities. Do you have the idea, watching this show, that there's a sore need for great managers in government? Ever get that feeling sometimes? Andrew Cuomo is now, because of assassination by allegation, is gone. He's gone Tuesday. The man who saved us once, but now the infections are on the rise, 243 Wednesday, the highest daily infections since April 17th of this year, when we suffered 239 new cases as the April downturn in the second wave was being beaten by the vaccine. The census came out last week, and on Monday, Norma Drummond, pardon me for that, Director of Planning for the county, gave this good news.
So as of April 1st, 2020, Westchester has 1,004,457 people living in its borders, according to the 2020 census. 1 million is not a number we're used to saying for Westchester. So the new resident population of 1,004,457 is the highest it has ever been in Westchester County, according to the census. No one is fleeing this county. That's an important message. They are coming here to be a part of Westchester. The Census News continues the trend of good news for the county. Our economy is thriving. Businesses, both small and large, are growing. Crime is down, and our vaccination rate is among the highest in the state. In 2010, our population was 949,113, so a growth of about 55,000 people. An accurate account enables Westchester County to receive billions of dollars in state and federal funding that it's allocated based on population. It can be used for schools, for infrastructure, roads, hospital, fire departments, and after-school programs.
Well, that was very rosy of Ms. Drummond, but demographers have to analyze why the count is losing white population over 10 years. As we pointed out last week, our middle-class white persons being squeezed out because of taxes. The county needs those answers. Jim Beneroff, who we hope someday will be back with us on the program, has long cried for the city of White Plains to do professional studies of city trends, businesses coming and going, reasons why leases are not renewed, and why persons are leaving and where they are going. The county now and the state have to figure this out. What is happening to the white population and where it is going and why? The Latino population is up, and even the Black African American population is up, and they had been said to be declining. Well, the Labor Day weekend plus religious holidays are coming up. Hopefully, Westchester will not do what we did over the July 4th holiday weekend, where we created the third wave that we are now still trying to stop and beat back, and we are not. We are betting we can just get back to normal. It's a sketchy bet, but may I suggest something not to do over Labor Day? Do not do what they did in southern Alabama. These are Associated Press pictures showing total lack of masking, total disregard for social distancing, and Alabama is in serious trouble. Infections, our hospitals are just absolutely overflowing, and we don't want that here. So let's be careful on Labor Day and not go to exposing yourself unnecessarily to the COVID virus. Now, next week, County Executive George Latimer wants your opinion on September the 5th, on Tuesday, August 24th, and September 13th, on how you feel the American Rescue Plan Act funds, which the county has oodles of left over, should be used. You can help fund a pioneering website, for example, please. And Coming up, the Slater Center has announced that it is collecting checks and supplies to help the victims of the horrid Haiti earthquake. And that is the information there, and this is always something White Plains does do in times of need around the world. The Thomas Slater Center often serves as a center for this, and it is absolutely something that Haiti needs. Those people are suffering terribly. I believe it's about 300 dead already, and the supplies are needed, and they're hardly, what can I say? This has been a week for bad news for a lot of people. But we've come to another end of a White Plains week, and it's going to continue like this for some time, reporting news that we don't particularly like to hear, but we have to pay attention to. And of course, the big tragedy this week is the Afghanistan situation, where we don't know when we're going to get all our American citizens out. We don't know what efforts are going to be successful in getting the Taliban targets out of there, people who've cooperated with the American forces, and what's going to happen to the journalists over there. I saw this room of journalists being spoken to by the Taliban spokesman, and you know, I wouldn't want to be a Western journalist in that country. I really would not. So they're very brave people to continue to try to cover the unfolding story there, and it is really something that America isn't helping those people and hadn't started it sooner. We don't know what happened that they didn't plan this better, but everybody has been complaining. The intelligence had no idea that the Taliban would sweep right in. And veterans who have served over there are outraged that we are letting the people who worked with them and they helped these last 10 years down by not getting them out and not getting a plan together. You have to have a plan. You say you're going to do something, you have to figure out how to execute it, and just figure you're not going to need it because you're not going to be under pressure. Heck, I mean, it's a big failure. This is the nation that did the Berlin airlift in 1948 under Harry Truman. And let's put it this way. We're better than this. We're better than this. Let's get this done. This is John Bailey saying good night, Jim Beneroff, and good night for White Plains Week.
This has been White Plains Week, news and commentary about White Plains, Westchester, and the world. The views and opinions expressed on this program were solely those of the participants. White Plains Week, produced by White Plains Citizen Net Reporter, and presented on Optimum Cable Channel 76 and Verizon Fios Channel 45. You may view White Plains Week anytime on the internet at whiteplainsweek.com, youtube.com, and wpcommunitymedia.org. For White Plains Week, this is Peter Katz speaking.